Attention all F1 fans, welcome to F1 Max. Revving up the world of Formula 1, a seismic shock has rippled through the racing community as Aston Martin and Honda announced their groundbreaking partnership, set to take effect in 2026. This unexpected alliance marks a monumental shift for Aston Martin, ending their reliance on Mercedes engines and catapulting them into the realm of a works team. The question on everyone's lips? Can this audacious collaboration propel Aston Martin to the pinnacle of Formula 1? Today we dive into the details of this game-changing deal, exploring its potential impact on Aston Martin's journey towards the top spot on the podium. Join F1 Max as we unravel the intricacies of this electrifying partnership and speculate on the thrilling possibilities that lie ahead. In the lead-up to the Monaco Grand Prix, there was huge news that broke on Tuesday. Lawrence Stroll's team Aston Martin announced that they would facilitate Honda's return to the sport as an engine supplier. Aston Martin will move from using Mercedes engines to Honda engines, beginning from 2026 onwards. It is a sensational move, with the team likely shelling out the big bucks to take control of their engine design, instead of being a customer team who relies on Mercedes for a fast engine. This marks the return of one of the best engine manufacturers in Formula 1 history, having formally left F1 at the end of the 2021 season as world champions. There are really two main reasons why Aston Martin would have made this move to partner with Honda. The first is that they go from being a customer team to a works team. Let me explain. This means that instead of buying their engines from another team, they instead help to design their own engines. We've seen in the past just how helpful that can be. Mercedes are a great example of the success of a works engine. They were in charge of their engine design when drastic regulations changed the landscape of Formula 1 in 2014. Merck were able to design the fastest engine on the grid, an engine that suited their car perfectly. Being a works team means you can design the car around the engine, instead of trying to fit the engine into the car. The top teams in Formula 1 tend to all be works teams, with the midfield and lower teams usually buying engines from the top teams to try to compete with them. This step from Aston Martin is aimed at turning them from a top midfield team to a consistent title challenger. Aston Martin will have also been looking for a change in engine supplier due to the issues facing Mercedes over the last two seasons. The Silver Arrows were the dominant team in the hybrid era, partly down to their engines just being faster than everyone else's, but this is not the case anymore. We've not only seen Mercedes struggle the past couple of seasons, but the Mercedes-powered teams struggle like McLaren and Williams. This season, it is clear that a lack of straight-line speed is really hurting the team, as well as their customer teams. So it makes sense for Aston Martin to be looking for an alternative. It is rare that you would see a customer team being faster than the works team, but that is the case this season, with Mercedes being slower than Aston Martin. At the moment, there are no signs that the straight-line speed struggles of the Mercedes engine will be fixed anytime soon, so moving to Honda makes a lot of sense for both parties. A very similar conundrum faced Red Bull in 2018 when it came to engine supplier. Christian Horner's team were getting tired of the reliability issues and lack of straight-line speed that the Renault engine had. With no change in sight, they looked for an alternative and landed on Honda. At the time, Honda were coming off the back of a bad stretch as McLaren's engine supplier. But Red Bull saw the potential the team had and entered 2019 with Honda engines. This move clearly paid off, as it was a Honda engine which powered Max Verstappen to the F1 title in 2021. While Honda left the sport at the end of that year, Red Bull is still using a very similar engine due to the current engine freeze. The Red Bull dominance at the moment means Honda engines are still the fastest on the grid, even if they are now under the Red Bull name. Aston Martin clearly believes that Honda can continue to produce the fastest engine on the grid. There is certainly no evidence of the Honda engine slowing down at the moment, and forming this partnership now gives Honda almost 3 years to design the perfect engine to suit the regulations, which are being introduced to Formula 1 in 2026. Lawrence Stroll is the man funding this move, and he's thrilled that his team will have Honda engines from 2026. In the announcement video, Stroll said, "Aston Martin Formula 1 is the fastest growing team in the sport, and on social media, tripling our fan base just over the last 2 years. The partnership with Honda is the final piece in the jigsaw to establish Aston Martin as a top team, capable of winning world titles." He added, Combined with our new campus, we're giving the team all the tools it needs to win. We need to exploit every single area of our technical package, and now a bespoke power unit is the most important last step in that journey. It is quite the claim that Honda engines are going to make Aston Martin title contenders overnight. The team's CEO, Martin Whitmarsh, explained the decision a little further. Whitmarsh said to the media, "We've got to be clear, Mercedes has been a great partner for the team and they remain that. They are in it to win, and clearly we can to win as well. So ultimately, there is some incompatibility in those two missions, and that is why we've taken the decision." Whitmarsh explained further why, if Aston Martin want to be title contenders, they can't be relying on other teams. He added, "But the nature of F1 is if you want to win, it means beating Mercedes, and it is extremely difficult to beat an organisation as good as Mercedes if you are reliant on them for intellectual property, facilities and components." He also spoke briefly about his team, saying, "Team Silverstone has got a great tradition for delivering great bang for a small buck. But we're in a different position now. The Aston Martin brand, the ambition of Lawrence Stroll, and now with great partners like Honda, we are here to win." Whitmarsh spoke about how important the 2026 regulations will be, saying, "The 2026 regulations will demand a very substantial integration, not just the physical integration of components, but the operational integration to be able to deliver and win. So in my view, it would be very difficult to win consistently without a full works relationship, which is why we've made this decision." Somewhat quietly, Lawrence Stroll has been revolutionising the Aston Martin team. A new base at Silverstone shows the investment Stroll is putting into the team, and it is why they have been the surprise team of 2023 so far. But at the moment, Aston Martin look to be set up to challenge very soon. The acquisition of Dan Fallows seems to have already had a brilliant effect on the aerodynamic package of the team. Aston Martin are able to be towards the front of the grid despite the Mercedes engine struggling compared to the Red Bull and the Ferrari. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll are already consistent podium threats, with the Silverstone team being on the podium 4 times in the first 5 races. With the added benefit of becoming a works team, Aston Martin could easily make the step up from podium contenders to title contenders. However, one of the things that has been talked about almost immediately after the announcement was whether Aston Martin will look for a new driver lineup by the time that they have a Honda-powered car. There have been rumours about a lot of different drivers joining the Silverstone-based team. Carlos Sainz is one of the drivers linked to the team. His current deal with Ferrari ends at the end of the 2024 season, making him a viable target for Aston Martin. If Ferrari continue to stutter and Aston Martin continue to make progress towards the top, would Sainz really want to stay as the second driver with the Scuderia? A move for Lando Norris has also been mentioned. McLaren are not in a good state at the moment, and they have no plans to become a works team. So it does not seem like Zak Brown's team will be contending for the top anytime soon. This could persuade McLaren star driver Lando Norris to look for a move. His current contract expires at the end of 2025, so realistically, he could immediately make the move to the Honda-powered Aston Martin for 2026. There has been one man linked to the Aston Martin more heavily than others. With Honda being a Japanese company, it's likely they would want a Japanese driver in the Aston Martin car. That is where the links to current AlphaTauri driver Yuki Tsunoda come in. The youngster seems the perfect candidate for the Aston Martin seat, with even Aston Martin's CEO talking about a move for Tsunoda. Martin Whitmarsh said, "He's making a great impression this year. He's very young still, but relatively experienced. But I think he's made great progress. It's tremendously exciting. Ultimately, Honda and Aston Martin want to have the very best 2 drivers we can have in the cars." He really added some fuel to this rumour when he said about Tsunoda, "He must be considered as a candidate. I'm sure he would love to drive a Honda-powered car. Considering some of the things that Fernando Alonso has said about Honda engines in the past, it seems unlikely the Spaniard will be driving the Honda-powered Aston Martin." One of the reasons for Tsunoda getting the drive with AlphaTauri in the first place was Honda wanting a Japanese driver to be at the wheel of the Honda-powered car. Makes a lot of sense for them to want the exact same thing with Aston Martin. So what do you think? How big of an impact could the Honda engines have on Aston Martin? Does this move really make them title contenders? And do they need to freshen up their driver lineup to get to the front of the grid? Why not put your thoughts in the comments down below? While you're down there, why not hit the like button and subscribe? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.